The Carolina Hurricanes special teams are booming right now. Find out what is behind their recent success, as well as other news around the Hurricanes that came out over the weekend in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Monday afternoon. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Now, folks, the Carolina Hurricanes special teams is rolling right now. And this is obviously something we're all loving. The Hurricanes got off to a rough start this year. And, we all know, over the past few years, just how much of a struggle their special teams can be at times, especially the power play. But it feels like as of late, everything has been clicking for the most part for them, which is a nice, pleasant surprise. If you remember back in the 2024 predictions episode we did, I forget who it was, but one of you guys predicted that their power play and penalty kill would both be finishing in top 5 and top 10 in the league, respectively. And, especially the power play, I was a little bit hesitant on, but with the way things have been going late, it is looking like a real possibility. And I said then that is something I want to be wrong about. And I am appearing as of right now, as of January 8th, we're looking good. We're looking good. Obviously, there is still a whole bunch of hockey left to be played in this regular season. We haven't even gotten to the All-Star break yet. So, things can obviously change. Things could get better, things could get worse. We just don't know. But I was looking, this morning I was like, what's changed? And I feel like, it's been a big mental thing for the team. And if it because if you remember, back when they were really, really struggling, they had, obviously there was all the things in the media of, oh, this guy needs to look in the mirror. This guy, these, players aren't buying in, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, names weren't dropped. We know that. Uh, and then there was that players only meeting. And I feel like, everyone has finally gotten on the same page. And the guys that were struggling to buy in to what the Hurricanes are doing and all that stuff, I feel like the team has gotten past that. I feel like they've gotten through that rough patch, whatever it was going on behind closed doors, whatever it was. I feel like they've gotten past it. And I think that is a really big thing here. The power play, we discussed it the other day, but I do want to reiterate it. Uh, the Hurricanes power play is currently ranked third in the NHL as of this morning at 28.7%, penalty killing being at ninth at 82.8%. And so they're top 10 in both, power play being top 3. So I feel like, everything's clicking. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows what they need to be doing. And I think that is the biggest thing here, because we've said many times, we know what this team is capable of. And, when everyone is on the same page and doing their job, doing what they're supposed to be doing, this team can beat anyone. And there was a reason, they were the Stanley Cup favorites heading into the season. So I think that now everyone's on the same page. And I think that is the biggest thing here. And you look at their power play and penalty killing units. This was as of January 2nd. Power play one being Aho, Bunting, Jarvis, Fetch, Burns. Power play two being Drury, Natchez, Nays, and Teravainen and Shea. Uh, and on the first unit, Jarvis leads the team in power play goals with 8 right now. And again, everything is working. They got their units, the way they want them. They got chemistry. They're doing what they need to be doing. And I think that is the biggest thing. They have found what works. You know, and Svetch coming back from injury and him getting back into lineup, and he's been really hot as well. I think this is a recipe for success of what they've got going on right now. I said before when he went out, I and they're in that rough patch. Losing a player of his caliber really hurts the team. Not saying he would have been the difference, in those games that they won and lost, or well, mostly lost. Not saying he would have, gave them, the push they needed, with the issues they were having at the time, but everyone is on the same page now. And penalty kill units being Aho, Teravainen, Slavin, Burns. That was the first one. Penalty killing two being Stahl, Jarvis, Shea, and Pesci. You're having these guys out there that have really good chemistry. That first power play unit, especially. You look at and see what Aho and Svetch do together, what Aho and Jarvis do together, the chemistry that Burns and Jarvis have together. And, then you look at the penalty killing. We all know, we've seen for years and years and years now, the chemistry that Aho and Teravainen have. Yeah, and obviously Slavin and Burns, Shea and Pesci, they've really they're not trying to force some big brain type move out there in those special team units, power play and penalty killing respectively. Like, oh hey, Shea and Pesci are really good together. They're really good. They're a really good defensive pair. Let's put them on one of our penalty killing units. you know um and obviously, stuff, can change, depending on who's in the box. Of course, we know that. Um, but, they're not, they know, okay, these guys play well together. Let's put them out there together. And it's working and they're getting the results they wanted. And I think, another thing that is really helping the team in the mental aspect of the game is looking back and being like, hey, we got through that really crappy patch. And now we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We know that, hey, these, the rough patches don't last forever. And we'll make it through it. We're a good team. That just because, we're dropping some games doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the world. We can still make it through it. And we're seeing that out there right now. They're playing with confidence. They're playing with swagger. They're Aho and Svetch especially. They've been grabbing a whole bunch of headlines about all the points that they've been racking up as of late. So they are really clicking and firing on all cylinders right now. And in years past, we've seen where they're the one thing that has been missing has been the power play, but that isn't the case right now. And like I said earlier, when this team is doing everything right, when they are clicking, they can beat anyone. Obviously, we're still going to go through some dips in the remainder of the season. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played. There's going to be another rough patch or two. You're not going to just completely went out, the rest of the season. Obviously, they just dropped their game to St. Louis. We'll be recapping that later on, with Haley from Locked On Blues. But they can beat anyone in this league, and we're seeing that right now. And I'm really looking forward to what the remainder of the season and postseason holds for them right now, because you know in so many years past, like I've said, the power play has been the weak link, and right now it's not. But it we all knew it was coming. The Hurricanes have finally gotten their first jersey sponsor, and we will talk about that right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, you guys that have been around for a while know all about Game Time. But if you're new here, let me tell you about Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all of the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you, with killer last minute deals and all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Now, folks, I've used Game Time in the past. Me and my friend, we went to AEW Collision in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I loved using the Game Time app. My favorite thing about it was the fact that you can get views from your seat, regardless of where you're at in the arena, whether it's lower bowl, upper deck, whatever. You're not going to get surprised with an obstructed view or a bad view or anything like that. And one thing we were doing, we were sitting and just kind of just looking around the arena and be like, oh, where do we want to sit? And we found some great seats down in the lower bowl, front row, looking directly at the ring, directly at the ramp. And we had a fantastic time. And of course, Game Time also has all-in prices to show you your total upfront, so you're getting a great deal before you check out. You're not going to get surprised by a bunch of hidden fees and all that stuff. And you can buy your tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. You're not going to have to go through a whole bunch of steps and whatnot. And Game Time also has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the best place to find last minute seats, because sometimes you may get told you don't have to work today when you thought you did, and your favorite team is playing, or your favorite band is in town and you want to go see them. Game Time has you covered, folks. So download the Game Time app and create an account and use code locked on NHL, or locked on, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code locked on. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, we knew this was coming with the jersey sponsors. And, remember back in the bubble again when they did the helmet sponsors. We figured the jersey sponsors were going to be coming. Some teams have already done it. And, it was never something I was really opposed to. Once they started doing the helmet ones, I'm like, okay, the jersey ones are going to come. You look at soccer, you look at NBA, these jersey sponsors have already popped up there. Obviously, in soccer, it's been going on forever. NBA, it's been going on for a long time as well. So it was something you knew was going to happen. Um, it was just gonna be a matter of, okay, what's it gonna look like? And, it the one the Hurricanes got, it is new core. It is the largest steel product producer in North America. They're based out of Charlotte. And this deal runs through the 2026-2027 season. So it's going to be something that, it's not just for the remainder of the season or anything like that. It's going to stick around, and I'm fine with it. Again, it was something you knew it was going to happen eventually. It's another way, for the teams to create revenue and all that. You knew it was going to happen, folks. And the one thing I really liked about it, and it's something that I've kind of seen, across the board, from members of the organization, fans, everyone, is the fact that the new core, worked, with the Hurricanes, the patch, it doesn't impede on the jersey. It's not an eyesore. It blends in nicely. It isn't, some massive thing, that's just like, oh, boom, whatever. No, it blends in nicely with the jersey. And it looks natural, almost. Obviously, we've all seen them right now, but it's not. That's the biggest thing. It's not an eyesore. It looks it blends, and that's the biggest thing, They're not like, "Oh, it has to look like this or it has to look like that." No, they blend in nicely with the jersey, and that's the biggest thing I wanted here. It's not, because we've seen, with some of the, other sponsors and whatnot, they're not, willing to budge a whole lot, with their stuff. And like the Hurricanes helmet sponsor with Lenovo. It they they have their rules of what it has to look like, and that's fine. That's their company. They can do what they want. But I really like this new core one. It looks nice. It looks clean. It doesn't look ugly or anything. The font, on it is, pretty cool looking too, honestly. It doesn't That's the biggest thing. It's not an eyesore for me, at least. I know there are going to and I know there's gonna be folks that aren't happy about it and whatnot, and it's totally fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And another thing with this, it's also pretty small. It's not like, oh, it's taking up like, half of the chest and whatnot. No, it's pretty small. It's like right under the little piping on the jersey. It just says new core in their font and whatnot. I like it. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. Am I personally going to go to the eye and have the patch put on? No, I'm not going to. Um, but it's fine. It's fine. It really does not bother me at all, and I love that they were able to get a deal done, with, a company that was willing to work with them and not have one that's, again, an eyesore. That's the biggest thing here. It looks clean, and that was really what I was wanting for it. And obviously, I really like that. Oh, they have, another North Carolina-based sponsor, of course, you know, and because that's always really cool, when they are able to do that. And keep it local. That's honestly, one of the coolest things. And you know, then obviously, with the PNC Arena remodel or renovations coming up, uh, sooner rather than later. At this point, you know, the fact that, hey, they have this deal already, you're gonna be seeing a whole bunch of new core stuff around PNC Arena. If I was, to bet on it, I would probably say, hey, Nucor is probably going to be providing some supplies, or the Hurricanes are going to, Centennial Authority, they're going to use Nucor for the stuff that they would need for their renovations and whatnot. So I think it works, and it's fine with me. Again, the biggest thing for me was that it was clean and it doesn't impede on the jersey. I know like a lot of folks, oh, they wanted like Bojangles to sponsor it, to be a jersey sponsor. Would it be cool for the memes? Yeah, but that logo itself, as much as I love Bojangles, wouldn't look good on a jersey. It just wouldn't. And what they went with, it fits, it's clean, it's not an eyesore. That's the biggest thing for me. It works, it does its thing. That's fine with me. And because honestly, because it is so small as well, a lot of times I forget it's there. Yeah, obviously it's still pretty new, but yeah, they just started it with, I believe the game against the Capitals. It was, I think. But yeah, I believe that was the first game, over the weekend. But you look at that, and you barely even notice it, because it is, just so minimalistic on there. It works. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. And I'm already not, really even, thinking about it. And, and this deal going, through 2026, 2027, everyone's just going to get used to it at that point. We've all gotten used to the helmet sponsors at this point. So, it's fine. You knew it was gonna happen eventually, and I like that they got a company that is local that was willing to work with them on what the patch would look like. That's my biggest thing there. But, as I'm sitting here, talking about this, we have a picture of Ponomarev over here, and his time in the NHL for now has come to a close, and we will discuss that right after this quick break, folks. No, folks, the NFL season is wrapping up, but there is still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's number one sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, and make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and much, much more. And of course, you got the NHL season going on, NBA season's going on. Before you know it, MLB is going to be back as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff for you there on FanDuel. So visit fanduel.com/locked on and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Now, Vasily Ponomarev has been sent back to the AHL, which means that we're going to be seeing, we are going to be seeing more regulars return to the lineup for the Hurricanes, which is totally fine and to be expected. Um, but you look at what he was able to do during his short time here. He played 2 games against Washington and St. Louis over the weekend, and he really, really impressed. He obviously scored his first goal in his first game against the Capitals. He's the 5th player since relocation to do so. And I really think that all right, the Hurricanes were able to get a look at him in the NHL and realize that, oh hey, this kid's got something. They drafted him back in, I believe, the 5th round in 2020. What was it? Yeah, 2nd round, excuse me. I don't know why I said 5th round. Okay, that's why. 2nd round, 53rd overall in the 2020 draft. That's where I was getting 5th round from. But he's doing his thing again. Scored a goal his debut. Also, had an assist against the Capitals. And he's definitely looking like, all right, this guy has something. And this is, he's 21 years old. He's got sent back to the Chicago Wolves. Also, he's had 20 points in 22 AHL games this season between Chicago and Tucson. Uh, but they were able to get a look at him and like, all right, this kid can play and he's young. Again, he's 21 years old. So he's a guy that I think we are going to see a lot more of uh, down the road. Obviously, maybe later on in the season, should something happen where they need him back. But I really liked what I saw from him, and that's kind of the sentiment I've seen, from everyone. Everyone really liked what they saw from him, and are definitely excited to see more of him. Obviously, he's not going to be a permanent fixture of the Hurricanes roster this season, but you look at what he did, and what he could potentially do, later on in the season, for the Hurricanes. I do think that you look at this and it definitely makes, training camp a bit interesting, for next year because obviously, as with, every year, guys are going to leave. And then, whether it be free agency, trade, whatever, spots are going to open up. And they've gotten a glimpse of what he can do in the NHL regular season, and he produced well. Are we going to have another situation like Jalen Chatfield a couple years ago, when he played so well in his call up time that the following season, he became, a permanent fixture of the Hurricanes roster. Or, Seth Jarvis, where it was juniors or NHL, there was no AHL for him at the time. Are you going to have a thing where, he forces, their hand, into like, hey, I'm ready for the jump. And I think that, he's still pretty young, so I do think, him going back to the AHL was definitely the right move. And, because you don't want him sitting, up in the press box gathering dust. You don't want that, but give him a little bit more time, to develop. And I think that, come next season, there could be a chance, that we see him make the jump, into the Hurricanes roster on a regular basis. And we're seeing him night after night. Like Steph Nason, he was able to, make the jump back up into the NHL. Jalen Chatfield as well. I think, it could happen. I think again, him going back to the AHL was the right move, much like Pyotr Kochetkov, not, immediately, coming, in this season, as much as we all thought, he was going to back up Freddie, it probably was, the right move, for him to go to the AHL, continue to get used to the North American game. And, now, you look at what he's doing right now. I think, Ponomarev, he's in a good spot, to do what he needs to do and be successful. And I'm really looking forward to what he is able to do down the road. I think he's going to be a really fun kid to watch for this team. I think he has a bright future for him. Obviously, it was a very, very, very small sample size. Again, just 2 games. But in those 2 games, he looked really good. And I do think that for the remainder of this season, should someone go down again, whether it be, an injury, they're sick, whatever, and they need to call someone up from the NHL. I think, Panamara, he may be at the top of the list, to be getting that phone call, be like, hey, we need you in Raleigh, or whatever. I do think, with that, small sample size was really good for him. And I do think that, this team and organization is going to have confidence in him moving forward. Again, we're going to see more of him. Again, it was just 2 games. So I do think we'll probably see him again this season. It's just going to be a matter of when, not if. And then, of course, next season, into training camp, preseason, regular season, that's going to really be something to watch. I do think he's definitely going to be a guy to watch in training camp and preseason. After what he's done this season and what he will likely do this season in the NHL should he get called back up. And then again in the AHL, he's had 20 points in 22 games. He's nearly a point per game player. So he's going to be really fun to watch, folks. I really enjoyed watching him. Again, from what I've seen online, everyone else enjoyed watching him too. So while you're there, make sure you are following the show along at LO_Hurricanes, myself at Jared Ellis _96. Go subscribe on YouTube as well. And let me know what you thought of Ponomarev's 2 games over the weekend. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know. And as always, folks, let's go Canes.